Oh gosh, let's see. Well, it's kind of both. On one hand, we're an individual soul with our own consciousness, but in the heart, right next to us is super soul. And super soul is also called Lord Paramatma. Para means great or grand, and Atma means soul. So the great one soul, and that's Krishna, that's God. And so Paramatma in the heart gives us guidance in how to live our lives, and the intelligence, to the ability to live and to function, eat and sleep, and all those things that we do. So
we're all connected. We're all connected by Paramatma.
That's right. That's
right. You got the essence.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Rupa. I needed to clarify. I tried to clarify that last time, but it wasn't getting through.
Well, I'd like to hear other answers. Like Ramachandra, what would you say?
I think you have explained it. We're connected. We're individual living entities, but Paramatma being present in, just like the two birds present in the heart of the living entity, he's there. So that's the same Paramatma present in me, you, everyone else. So that's very simple and concise and clear understanding. Amazing.
So it should be guiding all of us in the same direction. Is that right?
No, not exactly. If your desire is to serve him and love him and get connected with him, he will. But if you have other desires, then
he won't.
Yes. Yeah.
What about the concept of mercy?
It's there.
It's there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what about the concept of mercy? Well, God is all merciful. He comes as a spiritual master. He comes as the Bhagavad Gita. He comes in the Istagosthi that we're having here. So, all merciful, no?
Hare Krishna.
No, Narayan, how would you answer that question?
Jai.
Maybe you can't hear me. Narayan, how would you answer that question about mercy?
About what?
Mahaprabhu was asking about the concept of mercy.
Parsi?
Mercy, MERCY.
Is your headset's not? Yeah, is your headset's not working now, Narayan Prabhu?
Well, mercy can be seen from a whole bunch of different perspectives. I mean, the one embodied person can go up to another embodied person and either behead them or give them something to drink from a goblet, whichever. If they treat the other jiva nicely, the other person in the body nicely, that's called mercy. Or if a person's accused of a crime and someone just declines to punish them for it, that is also mercy. But when it comes to the mercy, causeless mercy, that is the mercy of Krishna. See, Krishna is never going to reject us, ever. Why? Because we're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna's not going to reject himself, even a minute part of himself. If you look out in the sky and see all those stars, those are like individual jivas. You never see them clumping up into one clump, like a big clump of stars. Each one is almost independent. So our glory is when we learn to act from our independent platform, person to person, in Istagosthi, what we're doing, that we can deal with one another as individuals, not just individuals in bodies, which we more or less are, but I say more or less because we're all human bodies, so we tend to clump around humans, and at our weaker moments around dogs as well. But the thing is that when we relate to other living beings from the spiritual platform, that is where we are meant to be eternally. Whether we're fully Krishna conscious or neophytes in the Kanista Adhikari platform, the more we move towards the platform of individuality, you, me, everyone, if we could all speak purely as spirit soul, then we would very rapidly become in conversations that would give us enormous ecstasy, as you have read about or can read about in the teachings of Lord Caitanya or the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The blissful activities of the soul are never undertaken by themselves. The soul is blissful in relation to Krishna, and the soul is blissful in relationship to other self-realized souls. So the whole goal is to give up the whole play acting on the material platform from the bodily concept of life and to move towards the absolute platform, which is pure spirit soul. And that in Istagosthi, we have a chance to do that. So do you see, the souls are never merged. They're not, it's not like the souls, there's one big soul and we're parts of it. Nope. We're part and parcel of Krishna, who's an individual, and we are individuals, part of his individuality. The difference is that he is infinite and we're infinitesimal. So there's room for all of us. Does that make any sense?
Mahaprabhu.
How do we
is
know?
that?
Excellent. How do we know that we are speaking from the spirit soul?
Actually, it may surprise you, but we're always speaking from spirit soul, in the sense that when we speak from being conscious, and we are conscious, the consciousness is the expression of the soul. So if you're conscious, that proves that you are the soul. Unfortunately, when we become bodily conscious, each one of us, look at us right now, we really believe that we're the person that we see in the mirror, don't we?
Yeah.
But in 50 or 100 years, will that be the case?
Yeah.
We'll be looking in the mirror and seeing something entirely a different person, which we'll think is who I am. I'll think, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. When you're in the womb, you develop an identification with the body as it grows in the womb. By the time you come out, you're fully convinced that whatever comes out of the womb is you. So it takes spiritual guidance and enlightenment to realize that I am only a spark inside of that body, and I don't have to identify with the body. Because it's a foolish thing to do. Just ask yourself, why identify with the body, which in less than 100 years, you'll have a different one?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the point?
Yes. Yeah.
You have a piece of rice on the side of your lip.
I'm sorry?
You have a piece of rice on the corner of your lips.
Peace of mind?
Rice, R-I-C-E, rice.
You
have a rice over here.
What?
You have a rice, R-I-C-E. You have a rice over here.
You have a grain of rice. You have a grain. You have a grain of rice on the corner of your lips. Do we get it? Still there?
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave it.
Narayan, wipe the corners of your mouth. Wipe it.
Wipe it. I think his headset is not working.
I'm just manipulating my body. Consciousness is the indicator of the soul, and I'm manipulating my body via my consciousness through the mind and from the soul, as the soul is manipulating the body.
Narayan, can you hear me?
You know, I'm having trouble. I'm going to have to dial back in. I'm not on my earphones are not connected to this call.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay.
Change the
Haribol.
batteries. Change the batteries.
I just did.
Okay, we have another devotee joining us from YouTube. Abhishek, Prabhu, can you introduce yourself? How you came to Krishna consciousness and what are you doing in Krishna consciousness? Abhishek Prabhu. Oh, he left.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Mahaprabhu, what's next? What's your next question?
I'm
Okay,
not sure tonight. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
All right. Hmm.
Narayan is coming back.
Yes,
Yep.
he's back on. Can
There
you
we
hear
go.
us?
I can hear you very clearly now.
Okay.
Oh, great. Tell them
Yeah,
about
what
the
was
rice.
happening is I was listening to the call through the sound on my cell phone instead of through my hearing aids.
Narayan, you should wipe the corners of your mouth because you have food on it.
You? Can you see my mouth right now?
Yes. No.
Not right now, but previously. Okay.
Okay. That makes a great deal of sense.
Okay. Let's see. Who's watching?
Yeah, we got
Okay.
some more people on, right?
We did, but when I asked them a question, they left.
Really? It
Yeah.
wasn't one of our people, you don't think?
No, it was not our people. It was someone on YouTube that were watching. Okay, so anyone who's watching on Facebook and YouTube, they can join us live just by asking a question. I'm monitoring the chat here, and they can participate live, ask questions live. So, okay.
Did Srila Prabhupada have a wife and children? And what
Yes.
happened to them? And what happened to them?
Yes.
Well, this is a complicated story. He married, he got married, she was very young when he married her, which was the habit of upper class Indians at that period of history, early 20th century, I guess. And she was 13 when they got married. I
No,
had
she
no
was
idea.
11. She was 11.
Oh, she was
Are you
11.
sure?
Yeah. But
Wow.
she had
I'm
her
sure.
she had her first child at 13.
13. Wow.
Well,
She was
obviously she had to reach puberty before getting pregnant. But that was the way it was back then. That's the way marriages were, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think, frankly, that women should get married as soon as they reach puberty, or maybe at 15 or 16 at the latest, and make sure that they will have graduated from high school. And then when they finish raising their child for 10 years, till they're 25, then they can go back to university and get a PhD by the time they're 32. And that
Right.
way, they don't have to go through the agony of denying their reproductive instinct, while
Okay.
being married or not
Yes.
getting married until they have their PhD, and then having a conflict between the PhD and the having a child.
Okay, so Rupa Manjari was saying, so Prabhupada is saying in a lecture in Ahmedabad, December 14, 1972, I was a grihasta. Grihasta means a householder married with wife and children. I was a grihastha and I was also married. My wife was 11 years. My wife was 11 years. So in that minor ages, there is no actually love between husband and wife. But still, formally, the system was that the young girl, minor girl, was giving some eatable food stuff to the husband and sometimes spawn like that. But unless they were
Major.
major, sorry, yeah. Unless they were major, they were not allowed to live together. Huh? But these things are going on. So similarly, gradually, we develop our love for Krishna. So yeah, Majori Prabhu, you were right. You said 11. So I was looking for reference. Yes. There you go. So I guess they got engaged. So can we say that they were engaged and then they officially, well, engaged means married, basically.
Married.
They were married.
Yeah. In the old style, a girl and boy, the marriages were all arranged by their parents.
Yeah. Yes.
With, we might notice, very low separation or divorce rate.
Right.
So what happened is that the girl would find out who her husband was when she was 7 or 8 years old. It would all be done through astrology, matchmakers, family members of both sides, and they would arrange the marriage. This is who you're going to marry. So when she grew up, she's not speculating, oh, what will my husband be like? Who will my husband? She sees this kid on a skateboard and says, that's my husband. But then, after that, she has to wait maybe 5, 6, 4 years until she can get married. In Prabhupada's case, I think they were married but not living together until she reached puberty. But in any event, we find it a strange thing, and what to speak of,
I mean, we find it
men and women changing genders and all that stuff. Homosexuals, all that stuff is supposed to be better than the system of early marriage. Personally, I don't see what the better part is. Particularly, the idea is you should have a good astrologer. The idea about marriage in the Krishna conscious community, meaning Vedic community or Indian community, the whole point of marriage was to create a strong tie amongst family members. The boy and girl getting married was just a factor in the culture of the Indian people. It wasn't like they went off on dates and got it on behind a bush somewhere. Not like that. The boy and girl would be matched so that when they grew up, both families wanted good progeny, good children, praja. Progeny comes from praja. They want good praja or progeny for the practical purpose of strengthening their dynasty. Kings did it, they're famous for it. European kings, Indian kings, all sorts of kings are famous for marrying powerfully so that their prosperity and social structure will increase. But what about the merchant class? What about the medical class? What about the working class? Everything needs to be done to enhance the connection. And remember, back then, they had lots of children. So not all of them lived usually, but they had lots of children. Maybe 10, 5 or 8 would live. And when they had these children, it was calculated, what would these children do? And we know from Prabhupada that if the person is in the Vedic structure, he's brahmachari, then he gets married at 25, then he And he goes and becomes a vanaprastha when he's older, and he and his wife go traveling, and the children take care of the family business. Well, that's how it worked. It was like a no-brainer. You just did it.
Yeah.
You just did it. It's not like everybody is on their own, and nobody was taking recreational drugs or whatever like that. They were concentrating on being the best they could be, the best person they could be. So that's what Srila Prabhupada did. He married his wife. He married her sort of as that system was on the verge of, I wouldn't say crumbling, but becoming less prevalent. Because after he married her and they had a few children, how many children did they have? 6 children?
I don't remember.
4 or 6 children.
Acha.
Yeah, after they had their children, she became very caught up in and remember the British had their pernicious, presence. They would take Brahmin women and make them into house servants. Which is totally out of the question, unheard of, you know. Why? Because they had the power to do so. They had servants, like they would say, they would mock their servants and call them, hey, Banerjee, Chatterjee, like that. But Chatterjee, that means like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. It's a very sacred, high-end Brahminical name. But they made them into servants, the British did. And it's the only way they could make a living. It's the only way they could live, was doing whatever the British had them do. Okay, so is there any more questions about Vedic marriage? Late Vedic marriage, meaning 20th century Vedic marriage.
There's nothing called Vedic marriage nowadays, or somewhat.
Well, Prabhupada wanted to reinstitute it in his country.
Yeah, right. But seems like as a spiritual institution, our divorce rates are very high, or separation. That means what? That means basically a low spiritual standard, or what? What does it mean?
Well, what it means is that he succeeded, but he was dealing with raw material, emphasis on the word raw. He's dealing with ex-hippies, people that were promiscuous, girls that were not virgins, men that were goofing around, men that were even gay, and people were taking drugs, hippies. They were just trying to find a way out of the Vietnam War, essentially. The hippie movement was the answer to the Vietnam War. You can't take us, we're stoned, have long hair, and we can't see straight. So how can you take us into soldiers,
Right.
And then, of course, we believe in peace. We study Buddhism, or we study Hinduism of some sort, yoga, anything to avoid being sent to Vietnam.
Wow. Right.
What was Prabhupada's take on the gay community?
Well, he never said anything bad about anybody. He definitely didn't want a gay community in Krishna consciousness movement. No, he wanted everyone to be normal.
He wanted everyone to be Krishna conscious. Normal.
Right. Well, yeah, but I mean, Kirtananda was gay, and Hayagriva was bisexual and gay, largely gay / bisexual. Umapati, I think, was gay. All the people from Mott Street were gay.
Devotees?
Bhavananda, yes.
Yeah, they came. Brahmananda was not gay.
No, Bhavananda.
Baba.
Oh, Bhavananda. Well, he didn't come from Mott Street. he came from Andy Warhol's factory.
Andy Warhol's factory.
Well, that's what he called it in Manhattan. He had a big place, a whole floor somewhere in a skyscraper called the factory. And that's where he used to produce art. He used to do theater. He used to make movies. In other words, it was a whole scene. And he was the center of the scene. And Bhavananda was in a movie made by Warhol called Chelsea Girls, which was, of course, the girls were all men in drag, homosexual men in drag.
Okay. So I'd like to ask a question now. Did you see the video I posted on your wall, Narayan Prabhu, about that? This video here. Let me.
When did you post it?
You made a comment 9 hours ago about there were
Oh,
many
yeah, I didn't
gurus
see it
who
as a video because there was something in front of it. I couldn't get the thing in front of it to go away.
Maybe I can play it here and you can hear it. 1 second.
That'd be nice.
Okay, 1 second. It's pretty interesting. This, let me get things going here. So we'll hear what he has to say. There's some background on this devotee that's giving class. He's a Prabhupada disciple. I think he joined 1972 or 73. He's a head pujari in San Francisco. So just hear what he has to say.
Easy.
Goes along with that. It says, Yaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavirastane. To understand one must approach.
I can't see it.
Okay, let me play it here 1 second.
Yeah. Do you know his name?
His name is Bahushira Das.
What?
Bahushira.
Babushara or Babushana?
Yes. No, Bahushira.
With an
I
H.
don't know what year.
I joined 1972 or 73 or something. You see him on the top right, if you see his face there.
All I see is a text by Srila Prabhupada.
No, he's up there, the corner right here. You see it here? He's speaking here.
You have to pinch it out.
Right here.
Okay.
To understand the Bhagavatam, one must approach the self-realized Vaishnava. Okay, so we have that here in the form of Prabhupada's purports. You know, I'm just a little parrot, you know what I mean? I'm just repeating what I've read or what I've seen and just how it Prabhupada said. But the real purifier, the deliverer here is Srila Prabhupada. And he has that potency. And therefore, that's why he's the Shiksha Guru of everyone in ISKCON. You see, that's not just a PR slogan. It actually means what it says, and it actually has potency to deliver you. The GBC actually in their GBC laws, they have it where it says even if your spiritual master falls down, and that even happened in the time of Lord Caitanya, Narahari Sankara has his little book, and he talks about that even in the time of Lord Caitanya, some different groups had fallen down. And so even now, the GBC has said that if the spiritual master falls down, he can take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. So, well, Srila Prabhupada's not here in his body, so how are you going to associate with him? Through his books, through his lectures, through his YouTube channels. So in this way, one can actually get association. Any questions, you just ask the other devotees, and then they automatically will be able to help you in that matter.
So you see here what kind of comment he was making? He said, the GBC has passed a resolution that if your guru falls down, you take Prabhupada as your guru. So this is the types of crazy.
Well, that wasn't in 1972. That's for sure.
No, this was recently here. This is a class at ISKCON of Sacramento group.
He was there?
No, he was broadcasting from his home and giving a class on the ISKCON Sacramento forum.
I see. Well, I mean, the original thing was if your guru fell down, you would take another guru that wasn't fallen down.
That has changed, right?
Yeah. There was Jaganambika Prabhu was initiated by Rameshwar, and then she was told that when Rameshwar left, that she would be initiated by reinitiated by Bhagavan. Bhagavan asked her to come to Denver, Colorado to meet with him. And she did. And he was sitting there on a sofa with a woman with his fingers twined into her curly hair and said, I brought you here so I could tell you in person that I cannot become your guru. Meanwhile, how selfish. Meanwhile, she paid to fly to Denver to become initiated by Bhagavan. So when she came back, I don't know if she got initiated by somebody else. I think she did. Rupa Manjari, do you know about that?
No, I don't know about that.
But you heard that story before, right?
From you.
Oh, from me. Okay, so yeah. And so he was in a relationship with a woman, I believe, that had 8 children. How that happened? This is the way Maya fools people, isn't it?
No, but he was making a
big
philosophical.
Guru with a golden toilet seat, and now you are with a woman that's had 8 children by somebody else.
Mhm. So see, this type of misinformation from these senior men, so-called people that give classes. This is what's going on in ISKCON. They say Prabhupada can be a Shiksha Guru, and then you have a different Diksha Guru, and according to Shastra, the Shiksha and Diksha Guru must be on the same level, or they're both, or one of them is bogus. So this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, I said that, but did he say that?
No, he didn't say it. He said that take a Diksha Guru in ISKCON. If that person falls down, then you take Prabhupada as your guru. So you don't have to, do anything. Prabhupada is
what if you want another living, breathing Kanistadikari guru? What do you do if you want one of those?
Then you take another one, I guess. That's the GBC policy. So this is just insanity, First of all, the guru that fell down, he was never qualified to be a guru, Diksha Guru, liberated soul guru, the one that's going to liberate you. He even says in the video that Prabhupada is the guru that's going to liberate you. So what is he implying here? It's like
he's saying that a priest can give you communion and he can baptize you, but ultimately Jesus is the one that's going to save you.
Right.
They're Catholics.
Right. Yes.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but Catholicism is not designed to replace the structure of ISKCON that Srila Prabhupada gave us.
Yes. So
that should be our number one goal.
So this is, the authorities in our movement.
Authority is based on accuracy of realization and accuracy of speech. So whatever he's saying does not conform or comply with Guru Shastra Sadhu. So where is the authority part?
No, I'm saying these people take him as authority. To us, he's no authority.
Yeah, people take Satya Sai Baba as authority.
Right.
Yogananda's authority. People can take whomever they like as authority.
Right. Yes.
But that doesn't make them an authority. You must be Guru Shastra Sadhu. That is authority. And that is our I hope we see this as our destiny and our task, which is to create for the first time an ISKCON that does not deviate from Prabhupada in any respect. I was last night, I think I was listening on the I don't know if it was our site or not online, but I heard Prabhupada teaching for the first time, Jaya Radhamad Abha Kunja Bihari. And I absorbed myself in that. And he taught it 3 or 4 times. Then he began to add variations to the melody.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you say, well, what about you're saying that it should be always Prabhupada melody? Yes, but when he added variations, if you learn the variations the way he did them, you can do those too. But people are mostly kindergartners. ABC is the best they could do. So they would learn Prabhupada's melody and chant it until it turned into something else gradually, simply because it was, because it went back to their Mary Had a Little Lamb song mentality rather than Prabhupada's transcendental intelligence mentality.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of only chant, you see, put it this way. No one can get out of the Kanista Adhikari platform. It's easy to get into the Kanista Adhikari platform. All you have to do is not be a complete jerk. That's all it takes. Don't kill animals. Go to the temple, chant on your japa beads. All the things people do is fine. Chant Hare Krishna. If you chant a bogus melody, hey, it's still Hare Krishna. No problem, no problem, no problem. But how long are you going to do that before you get tired of being at the lower end of the Kanista Adhikari platform? To advance within the Kanista Adhikari platform, we must hear from Prabhupada as he is. And fortunately, there are adequate recordings so that even one recording existed, we could chant like that. But there are dozens, if not more.
Right.
Over 100 probably. All we have to do is listen. That's called, by the way, listening in Krishna consciousness patwa is Shravanam.
Shravanam Kirtanam.
Yeah, have we heard that one before? Shravanam.
Yes.
And you hear from the spiritual master, that's Shravanam. And when you, in his vibration, trying to be on the same platform that he's chanting from, approaching it, I should say, that's called Kirtanam. Oh, now that you've done your Kirtanam, you don't have to do any more Shravanam. Not true. You listen to Shravanam in order to do Kirtanam, and you keep on listening to Shravanam until forever. There's no reason to stop listening. But your Kirtanam will improve until someone hears you chanting and they will not be able to tell if it is you or Prabhupada.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Apparently something huge is wrong with that because people ran away from that by 1970 as fast as their stubby little legs could carry them. Right?
Right.
So this no hard and fast rules became a whore. Instead of a divine instruction by Lord Caitanya, they turned it into a whore. No hard and fast rules means whatever your nanny from the slave plantation taught you in the way of melodies, that's bona fide also. No, it has to come from the transcendental platform, and our only contact with this if Prabhupada is not our only contact with the transcendental platform, then either Prabhupada is not genuine, which he, in my humble opinion, is, or we're trying to equate Prabhupada with somebody else without understanding the difference. Even if there's two pure devotees in the same room chanting, one of them is in the Sampradaya and one of them is not, we are in the Sampradaya. So we go with the Acharya in the Sampradaya, not somebody else. Certainly not so-and-so, it used to be Tommy Washington or something, that became a temple president as Tamara Das or something. No, it doesn't matter. You have a spiritual name, but the spiritual name does not convey unto you the authority to split from the authority of the spiritual master. When I say it like that, doesn't it sound like that's probably true? Do you see any flaw?
What flaw you're talking about?
I'm saying, is there any flaw in what I just said? That we listen to the spiritual master because he's the Sampradaya Acharya. He chants, we try to emulate his chanting as best we can, not empty imitation, emulate. The way he inflects his voice, we inflect our voice. The way he utters a vowel, we utter a vowel.
Yes.
I mean, is there anything wrong with that idea?
No, that's the best idea.
It's the best idea.
Only idea.
But
Only
now,
idea.
let's look at ISKCON. They practically never got beyond a sort of a half-hearted imitation of Prabhupada chanting Hare Krishna. The good part is they chanted his melody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. They chanted like that, more or less, but it was the same melody. But then they branched out, and Chudananda perverted the whole kirtan process by saying that Prabhupada only gave us melodies that were easy because we were so neophyte, and now he was there to teach the more advanced melodies, which presumably advanced means from Madhava Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
So if you agree on that point, which you say you do you see how big our task is?
It's not big, it's very small. Why is it big? Why you say it big?
We have, for saving ISKCON, it's big. It's a big task to save ISKCON.
Oh, it's a big task, okay.
It's a big task because we have to go back and not allow anyone to chant a kirtan without them first hearing Prabhupada for 10, 20 hours on headphones and getting how he chanted. That's what's big.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of deviations, a lot of everything.
Deviation from the very first minute.
Yeah. First minute.
You see, we can't say, well, let's go back to the way it was when Prabhupada was here. Well, a few short years after Prabhupada was here, they poisoned him to death. You want to go back to that?
Right.
So what do we have to say is that our job is to reconstruct ISKCON as it is, meaning we have to become immersed only in Srila Prabhupada's chanting. And if he chanted with theme and variations, we pick those up too, so that we chant the way our spiritual master chants.
Right.
I mean, doesn't that sort of ring a distant bell, a bell in some far distance covered with cobwebs?
No, yeah. What I've noticed here in Sacramento is everyone is chanting all kinds of tunes here, Radhanath tunes, Madhav tunes, all kinds of, tunes. But they never chant Prabhupada's.
Well, then,
tune.
Yeah, but even if they chant Prabhupada's, as I have always prided that I do, that's not really Prabhupada's unless I study every inflection of how he chants.
Right.
It's not just a melody that you can learn off of a notepad, of a music score. It's a melody which is evocative, like right on the on this what is our site called? The online is
League for 10K on Facebook.
It's not Facebook, but what on the verbal one. It is from
League for 10K. League410k.com.
Yeah, but on what platform?
What's up?
On WhatsApp. League for 10K.
WhatsApp, yeah. on WhatsApp. So on WhatsApp, if you like, you can go and listen to yesterday's presentation. They played Srila Prabhupada introducing Jai Radhamadava.
Yeah.
I've chanted
WhatsApp,
that for years, but I don't chant it the way Prabhupada chanted it. I chant using his basic melody. But when I heard him chanting, he went into the devotion. That's fine. He chanted. But what about the people he was teaching the devotees? What about them? They were chanting into his inflections also. You know what I mean by inflection, right?
No.
His tonality, his expression, his pronunciation, his attenuation of, I'm a classical music background.
Right.
So, I mean, it's possible to distinguish. Melody doesn't simply mean Mary had a little lamb. Melody means as he does it himself. And they were chanting the way he was chanting. After that, later on, he would tend to chant it more mildly. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridhanadhari. But when he was chanting in this one, he was chanting it incredibly intensely, teaching for the first time.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, I see it here. Right.
And then when he would sing, we tended to always sing Jamuna Tira Vanachari, right? But the way he did, he would, I'm not sure if I can do it the way he did it, but I was listening and taking part with the other devotees. Jamuna Tira Vanachari, something like that.
Wow.
Completely different than we chant.
Puts
So the
one
way
in
we
a
chant
trance.
Prabhupada's melody is better than not chanting Prabhupada's melody. But if we could listen to the recordings and train people from the day they come into ISKCON how to chant the way Prabhupada chants.
Right. That'll change everything.
Samsara Davanara Lido Loka. That. Morning melody, evening melody. And then Kiva Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Arati Kesopa. We can teach everyone that perfectly. And if they join, they won't know any better. They won't say, oh, but so-and-so Prabhu told me we don't have to do that. There's no hard and fast rules. We can chant whatever we please. No, you teach them how to do it right. And then the people who say you can do it any way you please, say, please don't do it the way you please. Do it the way Prabhupada taught.
Can we find that on YouTube?
Oh, yes. Is that too much to handle?
No.
Okay, so that's our project. We need to bring up the kirtan, everything up to the standard of when Prabhupada introduced it, and we continue it, not in our own way, but continue it in his way. That's the beginning. Then GBC, well, elected, of course. Temples, individually incorporated, of course. And the initiation by, what you call them?
Rithviks.
I wouldn't call them that. I would call them
officiating.
Officiating acharyas.
You know, we should read the 1972 letter that Prabhupada wrote to Karandar, because he's extremely unmistakably clear about how he wants the temple set up.
Oh yeah, we've read it. Yes, we can read it tonight.
Is this a good moment for you to read it?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, every moment we can read the letter.
I think you were reading a 74 one, weren't you? Rupa says a 72.
No, that's the 72. Yeah, that's
Is
what I'm
that the
saying.
same one?
Yeah, same one. It's a long one, 3-page letter. Yes, that's the one we're
Okay,
talking
We
about.
don't
go
have
for
to
it.
read the whole thing, but just the key
Yes.
parts.
Read as much,
giving
read it
instructions.
till it stops. My recommendation is read it till it stops making sense.
Okay, yeah, let me get that going. So
That might
hang
take
on,
3
but we can
pages.
continue. Right. Okay, let me load the letter up. Okay,
You're
letters from
loading
Srila
it up now.
Prabhupada. Yes.
So that means that everything that Prabhupada taught, the way he taught it, we need to make that the minimum standard of ISKCON. And people can pride themselves. In other words, we could say for a person to get Brahmin initiation, they are there for 6 months. No, they've learned all the basic melodies exactly the way Prabhupada chanted them.
Right, right.
Why not? Is there anything wrong with that? It goes outside of our expectation. Essentially, we all want to be bodily conscious Kanistha Adhikaris with Prabhupada in the center, instead of Kanistha Adhikari. Kanistha Adhikaris, Kanistha Adhikaris, not in Prabhupada's direct vibrational range. But let's give that up. We're not trying to fix ISKCON by getting rid of bogus gurus. We're trying to fix ISKCON by reinstating the only person that knows how to take us back to Godhead.
Jai.
Pretty amazing thought, no?
Amazing.
So we're talking about starting ISKCON from scratch as of today until the end of the 10,000 years from Lord Chaitanya. And if we do that, it will not be difficult to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. Why?
All right.
They will come flocking. Tell me when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay. Share the letter. Rupa Prabhu, go ahead. Jai.
Okay. Regarding your points about taxation, corporate status, etc.,
Oh, by the way,
can
wait
you
a
scroll
second.
it down a little
Is
bit?
that where you want to begin, or do you want to begin at the beginning?
This is fine. This is fine.
Are you sure?
Okay,
Well,
Okay.
let's go for it, Prabhu.
okay. Regarding your points about taxation, corporate status, etc., I have heard from Jayatirtha you want to make big plan for centralization of management, taxes, monies, corporate status, bookkeeping, credit, like that. I do not at all approve of such plan. Do not centralize anything. Each temple must remain independent and self-sufficient. That was my plan from the very beginning. Why you are thinking otherwise? Once before you wanted to do something centralizing with your GBC meeting, and if I did not interfere, the whole thing would have been killed. Do not think in this way of big corporation, big credit centralization. These are all nonsense proposals. Only thing I wanted was that books printing and distribution should be centralized. Therefore, I appointed you and Bali Mardan to do it. Otherwise, management, everything should be done locally by local men. Accounts must be kept, things must be in order and lawfully done, but that should be each temple's concern, not yours. Krishna consciousness movement is for training men to be independently thoughtful and competent in all types of departments of knowledge and action, not for making bureaucracy. Once there is bureaucracy, the whole thing will be spoiled. There must be always individual striving and work and responsibility, competitive spirit, not that one shall dominate and distribute benefits to the others, and they do nothing but beg from you and you provide. No, never mind. There may be botheration to register each center, take tax certificate each, become separate corporations in each state. That will train men how to do these things, and they shall develop reliability and responsibility. That is the point. I am little observing now, especially in your country, that our men are losing their enthusiasm for spreading on our programs of Krishna consciousness movement.
So this is the whole thing, huh?
Why don't you keep reading?
Otherwise, letters of problems are coming, dissatisfied. That's not a very good sign. The whole problem is that they are not following the regulative principles that I can detect. Without this, enthusiasm will be lacking. Even mechanically following, and if he gets gradually understood from the class, he will come to the point of spontaneous enthusiasm. This
My
spontaneous,
point isn't.
huh?
That's my point. Keep going.
This
Okay, yes.
loving devotional service is not so easy matter, but if one simply sticks strictly to the rules and regulations like rising early, chanting 16 rounds, chanting Gayatri, keeping always clean, then his enthusiasm will grow more and more. And if there is also patience and determination, one day he will come to the platform of spontaneous devotion. Then his life will be perfect. All of this I have told you in Nectar of Devotion. So I do not think the leaders are themselves following, nor they are seeing the others are following strictly. That must be rectified at once. Each center remain independent, that's all right. But the president and other officers must themselves follow and see that others are following the regulative principles carefully and giving them good instruction so they may understand nicely why this tapasya is necessary. And GBC and sannyasis will travel and see the officers are doing this, and if they observe anything lowering of the standard, they must reform and advise, or if there is some discrepancy, I shall remove it. Of course, if new men are coming, they may not be expected immediately to take to a regulative principle cent per cent. Therefore, we should not be so anxious to induce them to live in the temple. Anyone who lives in the temple must agree to follow the rules and regulations without fail. So if some new man moves in with us, he may become discouraged if he is forced in this way. Therefore, let them live outside and become gradually convinced in the class why they should accept some austerity. Then they will live with us out of their own accord and follow nicely everything. It is very difficult to give up very quickly so many bad habits as you have got in your country. So educate them gradually, first with chanting, and do not become so much anxious to count up so many numbers of new devotees. If such devotees go away later, being too early forced. I want to see a few sincere devotees, not many false devotees or pretenders.
Wow.
Very nice.
Wow, this is a heavy letter. The whole philosophical, the whole
Keep
Krishna
reading.
consciousness.
Someone else can read.
So
No,
my
you're
point.
doing a good job.
I'll read, Prabhu. Okay, this is the last paragraph. So my point is that the regulated principles must be followed by everyone. Otherwise, the enthusiasm dwindles and they again think of sex and become restless. And so many problems are there. There is some symptom of missing the point. The point is to be engaged in doing something for Krishna. Never mind what is their job, but being so engaged in doing something very satisfying to the devotee that he remains always enthusiastic. He will always follow the regulated principles because they are part of his occupational duty. By applying them practically as his occupational duty, he realizes the happy result of the regulated principles. So the future of this Krishna consciousness movement is very bright. So long the managers remain vigilant that 16 rounds are being chanted by everyone without fail, that they are all rising before morning, attending Mangal Arati. Our leaders shall be careful not to kill the spirit of enthusiastic service, which is individual and spontaneous and voluntary. They should try always to generate some atmosphere of fresh challenge to the devotees so that they will agree enthusiastically to raise and meet it. That is the art of management, to draw spontaneous living spirit of sacrificing some energy for Krishna. But where are so many expert managers? All of us should become expert managers and preachers. We should not be very much after comforts and become complacent or self-contented. There must be always some tapasya, strictly observing the regulated principles. Krishna consciousness movement must be always a challenge, a great achievement to be gained by voluntary desire to do it, and that will keep it healthy. So you big managers now try to train up more and more some competent preachers and managers like yourself. Forget this centralizing and bureaucracy. Hoping this meets you well in good health. Your well wisher, Ace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yes.
Forget this centralizing and bureaucracy.
Yeah.
This one letter alone is basically can be the action platform for the League for 10K.
Yeah, we've discussed, yes.
Because everything I was discussing with you is here in this letter, isn't it?
Right. Yes.
I went into a little bit more depth, saying that we have to emulate the exact way Prabhupada chants. But I mean, to a disciple, that should be obvious.
Yes. Wow, yeah.
So
This letter.
There's a ways for us to go. We have a wonderful Kanista Adhikari movement. Jai. I applaud. Wonderful Kanista Adhikari movement. Now we need to purify it and bring it down. Well, not bring it down. It is down. It's at the lower range, in the lower quarter, say, of Kanista Adhikari. We need to come up to the 1/3 mark by emulating Prabhupada, and the halfway mark by perfectly emulating Prabhupada. Then come up higher and higher until everything that he says in that letter is taking place. Everything that Prabhupada said, without mentioning the term, is Kanista Adhikari. Do you get that point clearly? There's no such blanket thing, oh, Krishna consciousness. No, it's an Adhikar. So the Kanista Adhikari platform begins at the bottom, and Prabhupada was encouraging it to come up 1/8 of the way, 1/4 of the way, and he gave explicit directions how to do that. But we should not think that this is, oh, Krishna consciousness. You go back, chant Hare Krishna, go back to Godhead. Fine. But that's not the, Prabhupada went into great detail in this letter as to the things people should do just to be in the temple. So it's not like you just chant Hare Krishna, go back to Godhead, so what, you know? Oh, we're automatically saved, I was baptized, so I'm going to go to heaven with Jesus. No, that's not the idea.
Right.
So, but you can see that. Do you see how this could become how this could become the basis for everything that's needed for ISKCON to prevail for the rest of the 10,000 years?
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Oh. Yes, very powerful. I mean,
Ramachandra, do you agree? I didn't hear a roar. I didn't hear everybody roaring. Yes, I agree.
Yes,
I heard
I mean,
silence.
the GBC is doing everything opposite. I mean, the unelected GBC.
Well,
I said
the GBC,
the fake and bogus GBC.
We need, exactly. The GBC in reality does not exist, because the only way the governing body commission can exist is by being elected for 3-year terms.
They're not even part of ISKCON. They have an entirely legally distinct separate organization called the GBC Society of West Bengal. That has nothing to do with ISKCON. They don't exist in ISKCON.
Wow.
Okay, so look where they got that idea from, right? They got it from the Catholic Church, where you have the Vatican in that. You know, the Catholic Church ran all of Europe. Then after the Reformation, they got pulled back eventually to Italy. And then from Italy back to Rome. And then when that went down the tubes, from Rome to Vatican City, which is a few city blocks inside of Rome.
Which crazy person came up with making a crazy society GBC of West Bengal? Who was it?
They all did it together because they wanted to be free of the direction of management and any other strictures on their power source. So So they created a different society, which was in a whole different country, the GBC Society of West Bengal. And then their bylaws that they filed stated that ISKCON and all of ISKCON's assets, including people, money, books, buildings, are all the personal property of the GBC Society of West Bengal.
Wow.
Yeah,
Total-
so they basically jacked it all.
Jacked it all.
So if you look at it, if you want to know where the model is, it's the Catholic Church.
Jacked it all. Yeah.
As soon as you have Catholics in charge of things, they're going to accuse Jews of taking over the whole thing. That's what happens. The history of the Catholic Church was blaming Jews.
So are they blaming the Jews right now?
What? They keep saying that ISKCON is being run by Jews.
Who's saying that?
Well, most of the gurus and the GBC.
The gurus and GBC. Well, I mean, most of the devotees are not Jews. They are all Indians, and I mean, how can they say something crazy like that?
What they mean, like all the leaders are Jews.
Oh,
But it's not true.
maybe all the leaders with lots of money, they're Jews. Like Radhanath is one of them. I think.
Yeah, but the money, as far as I know, the money that Radhanath has, he got from his dad.
Is from who?
His father.
Oh, maybe he did. Who knows? I don't know.
Father was very wealthy.
When we went to meet Radhanath in 2008 in Chowpatty, somebody told me then that he had $85 million.
Wow, $85 million, huh?
Yeah.
So where does he keep it? In an American bank account or Swiss bank account?
Swiss bank account.
Oh, so there you go. 85 million. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And a sannyasi is supposed to have that kind of money. Sannyasi is not supposed to have any money.
Yeah.
Now, Srila Prabhupada had a couple of $100,000 because it wasn't really his money, but he was managing it. And he used some of that money to pay off his kids and relatives not to sue ISKCON because
India,
yes, the guru's temples belong to his material descendants.
And one of his sons, Mohan, tried to grab ISKCON legally. And what is said is that Narayan Maharaj went many times to court and saved ISKCON from being taken by Mohan. He did that right. I give him snaps for that.
Assuming that he did.
Assuming that he did. That's all right. Okay.
Well, if he hadn't, then Mohan could have made a convincing argument that his father's property should go to his son.
Yeah, but Prabhupada had already made a bequest to each one of his kids and made it clear that that was the limit, and they had to sign on that, I believe.
Yeah, if you want the money, sign the dotted line.
Yeah.
Right.
Prabhupada was very adamant that the society should continue independently. Yes.
And when Srila Prabhupada passed, he had in his personal account something like $10,000, like very small amount of money. He did not keep much money. He said, make $1 million, spend $1 million.
Right.
The GBC, they make $1 million, they keep $1 million, and then they want another $1 million.
Yeah, I mean this.
Just think. Let's just conjecture here. If we took that $85 million, just think about how much money that is. How much, especially in a country like India, can you imagine how much money that's worth? If we took that money, we could revolutionize the entire ISKCON movement just on that money alone. We could get everything back in order, get the songs in order, get the incorporation straightened out, get the letter to Karandar set into stone. We we should literally do this. We should set it in a stone, that
Mhm.
letter,
Yeah,
because it is
that's
so,
good. We could
it
do
is
that.
so important.
but
It is
It
so
would be,
important.
it would be better if we do it without any money. Simplify the desire of the people joining ISKCON to not be shortchanged, because they don't
Right.
realize they've been shortchanged.
No, I'm saying the money would go to things like printing only original books, teaching classes how to
That
chant
can be
like
done
Prabhupada.
anyhow. That will all come about when the devotees become, shall I say, woke. When the devotees understand what they've been cheated out of, or then they will want to do that themselves. So they don't. We won't need a bunch of money to do it with. All we
No,
need
the
to
way-
do is
Prabhupada
have
said-
the
Your World
Prabhupada-
Sankirtan needs a lot of money. Your World
Prabhu-
Sankirtan needs a lot of money. No,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Yeah,
Huh?
definitely. Yeah,
Yes, I said it.
we're gonna need money. We're gonna need a lot of money, but it needs to be used down to the exact paisa in the right way.
well,
And
yeah.
if even one paisa is misused, that's criminal offense. Because Prabhupada
Well,
said the account books should be laid on the front steps of every temple for anyone to see where every single donation went and what it was used for, and an honor to the person that donated it for having created that part of the movement in its
Right.
authenticity.
Right. Right.
Yeah, one time
all the
Ramachar came to
money-
me. Ramachar wanted my advice because he said they were having some difficulty with the deprogrammers and people like that.
Maybe we should have
That we were a cult.
maybe we
And-
should have a meeting with Radhanath, because he likes me. He really begged me to be his
It's
disciple,
not
and I
going to do
turned
any
it down.
good. He's got his own thing. He's doing his own thing, and he has no reason to stop doing it.
No, why not? Let's try. Right? Doesn't hurt. Just kidding.
Why? We want to reach the people that are at the.
Why not
taking
reach
the-
Radhanath? He's his old friend. No, right, Prabhu? No?
He's not going to do that, Prabhu.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
The point is that the money that these gurus have stashed in the millions and probably the hundreds of millions by now, is that money was specifically set into place by Srila Prabhupada for the following purposes: to maintain and organize the temples, and then to publish and distribute original books, and to build new temples exponentially. That's what all that money is for: to build temples, to publish books, to maintain the existing temples that need renovations and this and that, probably to expand them, because as this is happening, more people will come. And the more people come, the more space you need. So all these things need to be taken into consideration.
And that would be from 1/3 of the book profits.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, but
But what?
what we need to do is establish the truth in such a way that if Radhanath reads it and he's sincere, he'll say, hey, this is better than what I'm doing. Or if he isn't sincere,
Yeah, we should have a
that
meeting
other
of the
people will
minds.
say it. So we
We should
need to
have a meeting
produce,
of the minds. Why don't we all go to India and have a powwow with Radhanath?
why don't we go to the Vatican and have a powwow with the Pope?
Fuck the Pope.
Fuck
We
Radhanath.
don't need the Pope. The Pope's done enough damage to enough
We don't
children
need
as it
Radhanath
is.
either. He is doing, whatever Radhanath doing is nice. Whatever them all doing is nice. What they're not doing is what we want to compensate. Just like that letter, we need to establish what the standard is required for people to continue in ISKCON. You're going to go to Radhanath and say, we can't use your melodies anymore, Radhanath. We have to, our answers, we have to use the Prabhupada's melodies, only the way he chants. The people should wear headphones and not lead kirtan until they do them perfectly. Do you think that's practical? It's fanciful, isn't it?
Prabhupada said money is the honey. And he also said money is flying. Simply you have to catch it.
So that is instruction to us, isn't it?
And then he said, make $1 million, spend $1 million.
Fine. We're not spending Radhanath's money. we're spending our own money. Let's get it.
That's not Radhanath's money. That's Krishna's money. And Radhanath is a greedy bastard who's keeping it and claiming it as his own.
Okay, so the Rockefellers are greedy bastards too. Everybody's a greedy bastard. That's not what we're depending on. We're not depending on rich people giving us their money. We're depending on the people that want to become devotees, understanding what Prabhupada wanted them to be in order to become devotees. That way we can do with writing, and we can do it by example, and we can do it with our website. We can do it with, which Rupa Manjari is expert at, and we can do it with the Facebook page, which Rupa Manjari also created a web page called The Real ISKCON, and the Facebook page called The Real ISKCON. We do it that way structurally. We build it up.
I created that. I created The Real ISKCON.
I just said you did. I gave you credit for it just as in my past breath.
Excellent.
Yeah. So now we don't need to go up to Radhanath and say, "Oh, please, Radhanath, what did Prabhupada say in the letter?" And we'll come begging, and then whatever they hand us, we'll stop to depend on them for what they give us. That's what Prabhupada said not to do. He said clearly not to do that.
So let's make $1 million and spend $1 million. Jai.
Yeah.
Prabhu said.
Yeah, make $1 million, spend $1 million. Once you get real money, going, you can build temples, you can change things, you can get the books original.
We are not going to change anything. We're going to set the standard by which people that are now joining the movement can see a future beyond what they're being shown. In other words, we're going to be standard, to quote Rupa Manjari, we're creating the real ISKCON. But you have to do it on paper first. Prabhupada did. He created he incorporated ISKCON. He created.
So what do you mean create the paper? The papers are already there. Why even create any papers? You're saying create, but it's Prabhupada already created.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. We have to say how now we have to go back to the very beginning and say, we now have to hear from Prabhupada and chant the way he chants, not the way we think he chants, not the way somebody else chants.
And
Ramachandra, if we get $75 million, we'll simply spoil it. It won't do any good.
And Ramachandra Prabhu,
yes,
I worked extensively to persuade people to see our side of things, that we should chant Prabhupada's melodies. That's just one example, that we should chant the way Prabhupada chanted. And oh my God, I got such hitback. Like, people did not want to do that. They wanted to keep chanting these other melodies that you hear all the time in the temples. But where is one temple that you walk in and you know that this is Prabhupada's temple, because everything of Prabhupada is in that temple? That's what's missing.
None of them. Because even if they're chanting only Prabhupada's melodies, they're not doing it by Shravanam Kirtanam. They're just doing it out of hand-me-down versions of Prabhupada's mantra chanting. We have to start from the very beginning of Shravanam, of the spiritual master.
I think this Rupa Manjari Prabhu was making a point. Yeah, that nothing has. She has tried so hard, but nothing fruitified. So
we didn't do it right.
Oh,
we were trying to preach to the choir. We weren't doing it right. If we were doing it right, we would prepare. Ramachandra, you're saying, what is there to write? It's already written. Where is it written in great detail how to hear from the spiritual master and the absolute necessity of hearing from him and not somebody else?
Yeah, that's not written. That's what
I'm
talking about.
That needs to be standardized.
Yeah.
Well, it needs to be authenticated.
Yeah. Authenticated, standardized, and put in stone.
Standardize the authentic sound vibration.
When it comes to the pure devotee chanting, nothing's standardized, because every time he chants, it's a little different.
Well, when
we're dealing with the process.
Narayana,
yes.
when you would go out on the street chanting 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, did you stick to the main melody?
Well, I just stuck to what I now realize was an adaptation of the real melody. But yes, just like the one on the Hare Krishna record that Prabhupada made.
We should all
Hare
chant
Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare. Yes. So, but Bishop John sometimes would chant different melodies that he introduced himself.
Mellifluous.
I no longer believe that I was Vishnu John in my past life.
What are you, Bishop John, in this life?
I think he was just a cool bro, but I don't think I was him.
Well, I don't know. You can tell by doing a past life regression.
Anyways,
So the situation, Vishnu John used to chant this melody, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that was from A Mall and the Night Visitors, which was a Christmas musical. And Chudananda told me that a lot of the melodies he was teaching as Bengali melodies actually were Jewish melodies from New York that he adapted. And some of them that he told me he already got them, I used to hear them singing the same song melody in the elevators. It was like elevator music. And it didn't come from a Chudananda, that's where he got it.
Yeah, all these guys got melodies all over the place and then just zapped them in as ISKCON melodies.
Yeah. But I pointed out, and you've heard the story a million times yourself, is that Bishop John and I came up and made like 10 melodies, new melodies, or really nice melodies. Took them to Prabhupada because we wanted to create a new
Sound.
new recordings and stuff like imitating London. This was in 1969, 70, like 69 it was. And just when the Hare Krishna mantra came out on the Beatles version, chanting Prabhupada's melody, I may add. And so we sang them for Prabhupada, and he smiled, and each time we stopped, he said, "Do you like that?" He said, "Yes, it's very nice." So we went through all of the 10 thinking we'd really scored a big point, big points. And then we asked, but well, we were thinking, should we use these on Sankirtan, these melodies? And Prabhupada smiled and said, no, they're very nice melodies, but you should stick only with the ones I taught you.
Try.
Simple as that. The only reason he didn't emphasize it more is nobody asked him more. See what I mean?
People, yeah.
Why didn't they ask him?
They're
They
making
all had their
own
own idea what they wanted to
Right.
do. Why didn't they ask?
Right, why didn't they ask? Right. Krishna.
Oh, when surrendering to the spiritual master, you need to take instruction from the spiritual master. Their idea was, well, I was taught by Tamal Krishna, and he was taught by somebody how to chant Hare Krishna. Therefore, I'll do it the way I was taught in the temple. Is that the same as Prabhupada? Oh, sort of, you know. They didn't think that the spiritual master is the source of the sound vibration.
Right.
So that's the big difference right now. If we can get over that hurdle, which we have in front of us, a big hurdle, that we're not trying to co-opt the existing ISKCON. We're not trying to get the money from the existing ISKCON. We're trying to establish a standard which none of the gurus will be able to deny if asked about by their disciples. A lot of people they initiate, well, initiates.
Yeah.
If Radhanat's initiating people, and if we make it clear how to hear from Prabhupada, then it'll make a gap between Prabhupada's intent and the proper etiquette of observing the way the spiritual master acts, speaks, and chants, and the others. They like to hide behind the fact that each guru is an individual. Bhaktisiddhanta was different than Gaurkishore, like that. But that's not the point. The point is the platform. So they're trying to say, because I'm guru, whatever I chant is transcendental. Well, we have to teach that what is transcendental, and if the guru is chanting something other than Prabhupada, then he must not have heard it from Prabhupada.
Right.
If he didn't hear it from Prabhupada, how can he call himself quote unquote guru? How can he say that if he didn't hear it from his spiritual master?
Hare Krishna.
Does that work for you guys? Does
Yes.
anyone have an objection? Okay, no one has any objection?
Objection. No objections among the four of us.
Okay, so amongst the four of us, no objections.
Correct.
Okay, so that's what we are going to be doing with the website, and that's what we're going to be doing with the Facebook page, is step by step, showing step by step what is Shravanam when it comes to the pure devotee, and what is Kirtanam when it comes to the pure devotee. It's not just, he said Hare Krishna, so I'll say Hare Krishna any way I please. No, he says Hare Krishna, and I have to say, ooh, Hare Krishna? No, Hare Krishna. I have to emulate his chanting, his way he does. If we do that, it'll create a rock solid movement all over the world. Just imagine, what if every temple adopted authenticity of original ISKCON as its standard? We have tons of temples, we have tons of devotees. Well, all they need to do is hear and from Prabhupada, chant like Prabhupada, and create the temples as repositories of Prabhupada's sound vibration. His sound vibration that he...
Narayan, how do we make this happen? What's the step-by-step plan?
Step-by-step plan. This is the step-by-step plan. We're discussing it. And when we get to a certain plan, you see, frankly, everybody, even the people who come on the site, are ex-ISKCON believers. They believe that whatever they heard in ISKCON was fine, except that, what about the gurus or something like that? What about the GBC? They were thinking like that. We have to completely start from scratch and rethink everything.
Yeah, and that means talking to people who have been brainwashed, and that we need to get them unbrainwashed, which means talking to them about, hey, this is what Prabhupada wanted. This is what Prabhupada demonstrated. This is what Prabhupada said to do.
Well, that's what we're going to be doing.
Brainwashing. Washing.
As we do that, not just talking, writing. And Rupa, you're a good writer. You can start writing. We'll work on the documents. What we need to do is establish who is the Acharya and what makes him the Acharya. So when we establish the Acharya is in the Sampradaya, he is descended by the authority of Lord Balaram, and then in the shorter term, by the authority of Lord Nityananda.
And being Acharya means that he teaches by example. What does that mean? That's the example that we are supposed to follow?
Well, our example should be hearing from Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Not say that, oh yeah, I listened to Prabhupada for an hour, now I'm going to do it my way and people will follow my example. That's not what it means. It means that we need to become absolutely proficient in chanting in the mood of Srila Prabhupada and creating the body of literature or of writing around him, including Rupa Manjoy, your recommendation for the 1972 letter. That letter can be broken down and turned into a whole code of behavior for ISKCON And we will have to consider that we're going to be writing the history of ISKCON, not from this year, but from 1966.
Yeah.
We got to write the history of ISKCON as though they did everything right. You see? We have to create a written, when I say writing, Ramachandra wasn't sure I was correct, but we need to create the history of ISKCON starting from 1966 as it is. Meaning what Prabhupada said, what Prabhupada asked for. His letters are pretty explicit. What should we do? Not just we do what we please and Prabhupada is critiquing what we're doing, but what is he instructing us to do in his letters, in his lectures? Nobody bothers like that. And what I notice on the internet and stuff like that, people that are with us are busy throwing in this and that. They're throwing in Prabhupada Kirtans, they're throwing in this and that. Why? They're hiding behind these things. They're not surrendering, they're hiding from it, from behind it. They're using these things as props, even though it's well-intentioned, you see? So we have to go beyond well-intentioned. We have to go to accurate, substantive, truthful. And that means we have to reconstruct. Saying all this stuff, I have to reconstruct myself from my earliest contact with Prabhupada, gradually through the years to the very present moment now. Bringing along with me authentic Prabhupada every step of the way in print.
Maybe we should do Sankirtan, Narayan, in LA.
We could do that. But these are things to do. I'm talking about restoring the movement as a whole. We have to do it from the inside out. I don't have a lot of years left.
You do, you're eternal.
Well, in this body.
You have to come back again.
Eternal, and believe it or not, I spend a lot of moments wondering if I wouldn't be better off going into my next body rather than struggling around with all this stuff. But I'm here now. I've decided we need to struggle with it and create the possibility, because if we are going to say that Prabhupada is the Acharya till the end of the 10,000 years of Kali, then we have to make that a reality to everyone. We can't just say it and then go on with business as usual. We have to create it as it is. We have to create who is Lord Caitanya. The way I see it, as you know, I've said it many times, a number of times, is that Lord Caitanya saved us 500 years ago, 550 years ago, or whatever it is. He saved us 550 years ago. Now here we are joining him in the form of Srila Prabhupada. Why do I say Prabhupada? Because in the Sampradaya, and we can cut it short to Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Gorkha Babaji, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Prabhupada, and then the Maha Mantra through our lips for the rest of the 10,000 years. Through our lips. So once we understand that we are directly serving that he who saved us previously 500 years ago, namely Lord Caitanya, when we understand that we're serving him, we will not hesitate to stay here as many births as it takes to save everybody else, because that is the desire of Lord Caitanya. But how can we do that unless everything is in order? Surely it's not going to work if we have a bunch of Mickey Mouse people running around making up their own melodies, following some of the regulated principles. It won't work.
So step-by-step plan of action.
Okay. Okay, this evening is one of the first steps. We're discussing what needs to be done and developing vestigial notions as to how to do it, what to do and how to do it. I mean, there's plenty written on the authority of the spiritual master. We need to collect that authority. It's there in the database. We can collect the authority of what it takes to be a spiritual master and make that a standard for our movement, for Prabhupada in our movement. You see, we need to do the scholarship. And it would be nice if we can get some scholars on board who want to do that instead of
that's a great idea.
Just running around doing what they please.
There are some scholars in ISKCON. Well, some PhD.
Well, it doesn't matter where they are. We want whoever is a scholar, ISKCON or somewhere else, we want them with us, not with ISKCON. We don't want.
We can call Rabindra Sarup.
We need to bring in the rank and file, such as someone like Ramachandra, a nice, good, decent devotee, wants to do the right thing, but can't help but see that there's some major discrepancies at the managerial level. And then bring them in.
Yeah, we need to have a team of 50 men in our group based around this Zoom meeting.
Yes, and these 50 men, which we would hopefully get from people that we know that want change, we would and then have them read the 1972 letter to Karandar, the direction of management, the July 9th letter, the topmost urgency letter, and show them and teach them Prabhupada's kirtan melodies and style, and so that they get the whole complete understanding of what is the real ISKCON. That what's in those right now the real ISKCON is in seed form, and the seeds are those documents that I just listed. Those are the seeds to creating.
For the July 9th letter, we don't need that one.
What do you mean we don't need what?
We don't need the July 9th letter because it never really served any real purpose. And Prabhupada didn't write it. Tamal wrote it.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, but the rest are very important. Right.
No, there's nothing important about it. Do you know why? Tamal wanted to create a platform.
No, I'm saying the rest of them. Yes.
That became, he wanted Rithviks that would be, he introduced the term Rithvik to Prabhupada, which Prabhupada did not introduce to him on that letter only. And then he wanted these so-called Rithviks to become regular gurus, which they did. And that's what we're up against right now. But it wasn't necessary because Prabhupada had officiating acharyas in the form of temple commanders and temple presidents going back into the 70s.
Right.
That's the link we want to create, not the what happens to the Rithviks. Why did they stop being Rithviks? They weren't. Prabhupada didn't want them to be Rithviks in the beginning.
Officiating acharyas.
Prabhupada collected them under Tamal's standard of Rithvik to keep them together so the movement wouldn't fracture like the Gaudiya Math fracture. You get it? The Gaudiya Math split into pieces because everybody grabbed the temple for themselves after Bhaktisiddhanta entered Samadhi. Right?
Right. That's what.
So Prabhupada didn't want the same thing to happen. So he not only allowed Tamal to create the July 9th letter, but he also told them to go and listen to Sridhar, who was the person that created the false guru in the Gaudiya Math named Ananta Vasudeva.
Right.
So if we're going to be smart, let's be smart enough to see that Prabhupada was smarter than we were. And he created the July 9th letter. He didn't create the July 9th letter, Tamal created it. But he went with the July 9th letter so that ISKCON would not break up into pieces. And guess what? Guess what?
What?
You want to guess?
I don't know.
It did break into pieces. Rather not this guru, that guru, no?
It's going to break into pieces.
Well, it seems like
in reality.
Oh.
Compare it to the Gaudiya Math.
Oh, no, not to compare to Gaudiya Math. No, they have some social, Catholic thing
Never mind.
going.
If you don't run after a ball. If you're a guard dog, don't run after a ball rolling across the floor. That doesn't matter.
Okay.
What matters is that the movement is still under one management. Now, we saw this 1972 letter where Prabhupada explicitly said, don't do it that way. But he knew they would do it that way. They'd already done it that way by the time they poisoned him. In fact, they were poisoning him to keep him from not to undoing what they were doing. They knew what they wanted, and Prabhupada empowered them to take over the movement as bogus gurus. He created them as bogus gurus. And I can give you an example. I saw a tape of Prabhupada talking with Puri Maharaj, the younger Puri Maharaj.
Yes.
And he was on decent terms with him. And the Puri Maharaj said to him, I see that you have created 9 people. Oh no, it's 11 people, right? It's July 9th. 11 people to be the honorary gurus, functional gurus after your God. He said, I can't understand why you did that, he said to Prabhupada. Why did you do it? And Prabhupada gave him a vague answer. I will tell you that for sure, because I was listening like a hawk to see what Prabhupada would say. And then Prabhupada, Puri said, you created 9. I think that in the end, they will end up fighting with each other. You shouldn't do that. Meaning that Prabhupada still had a chance to name one successor,
Right.
And Prabhupada just, again, said quite vaguely, you've got to hear the tape. It is very fascinating. He said, well, that's what I did, and we have to see how it turns out. He talked sort of like that. Not very decisively, Prabhupada way of speaking. Well, that's what I did, and we'll have to see if it turns out. I have to be able to trust my,
So why was he acting like that?
He was just saying that to knock Puri Maharaj off the track.
Why?
He already knew what he was doing and why he was doing it.
Oh, okay, I see. We're just saying.
Unless do you want to say Prabhupada was a fool and he didn't know what he was doing? Let's not say that. Let's not say that.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So if Prabhupada knew what he was doing, let's say, for the sake of the biggest argument on earth, Prabhupada knew what he was doing, so he didn't want Puri Maharaj to get into the mix of that. So if he knew what he was doing, and Puri Maharaj was actually correct in principle, so Prabhupada wanted them to become Rithviks and then regular gurus. He wanted them to be regular gurus. Not because he wanted them to be regular gurus, don't get me wrong. He wanted them to fulfill their own desire to become regular gurus, because in that way they would stick around and keep the movement going. You see? And why did he send them to Sridhar Maharaj, who had already destroyed the Gaudiya Math by putting Ananta Vasudeva as the Acharya? Because he knew that Sridhar was in German, a Dummkopf. Dummkopf means, Kopf means head, Dumm means dumb. He was I don't want to say moron, but but he knew that he would do the wrong thing. and he would do it well. In other words, he knew that he would help them once they convinced him that Prabhupada wanted them to be regular gurus. He knew that the Sridhar Maharaj would set them up, and the Sridhar Maharaj was the only person that would be able to give them the confidence that they were being authorized by Krishna to become regular gurus.
I see.
If anyone bothered to read the history of the Gaudiya Math and what Sridhar did, they would have said, well, Sridhar is probably one of the last people on earth to choose to do that. But no, they were already going to Sridhar. They were already trying to get inside track of how are we going to become gurus. So that whole thing went there, how to be ritvaks and how to be gurus. So, and Prabhupada encouraged them. So obviously, none of that stuff from the July 9th letter, before the July 9th letter, and all the way to the present moment, none of that counts. None of it counts. What are they going to do? Saying Sridhar told them how to become regular gurus? Sridhar had no authority in this country. But the next Mayapur meeting, the Mayapur resolution stated clearly, and these are the exact words, the GBC, in consultation with higher authority, then they described how they became gurus. Higher authority than who? If they're ritvaks, they should be the highest authority. It's our Prabhupada's disciples. If that's not the case, then Prabhupada should be the highest authority. So who's higher authority? Sridhar. Do you get it? It's hard to grasp, hard to get your mind around it. And you may be rejecting what I'm saying. That's your choice. But it's not a mistake. It's the truth. So the whole July 9th thing was a trick by Srila Prabhupada, by Kabal, and Prabhupada used it to make them into bogus gurus. Because that's where they were headed anyhow. I mean, it was pretty transparent. I mean, when a parent has a child and that child's done something naughty, and the parent stares at him, and the child's squirming around because he's done something naughty, I mean, how many PhDs do you need before the parent says, oh, I see, you've done something naughty. What was it? No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Now tell me. Fess up. I won't punish you, but tell me what you did. Okay. And the child says. So you don't think that Prabhupada could see through those 11 rascals, homosexual rascals, drug-taking rascals? He couldn't see through them? But he knew that they were good. I mean, what about all the other qualified people in the ISKCON that could have been ritvaks or could have been regular gurus, if regular guru is really on the table? How many people? Oh, not quite yet. We want to hear your last words. I'll stop. Go ahead, speak.
I just wanted to say I'm getting ready to go to bed, so I'm going to be signing off.
Yeah, but say something profound first, okay?
Profound.
Good
All
night,
right.
Rupa.
Profound. I'm sorry, I interrupted you when you said the July 9th letter, and I'm sorry, I got carried away. I mean, people can't understand what I'm saying. People don't necessarily even understand it, except what I'm saying.
No, Prabhu, you gave her a chance to speak. Now you're taking over again. Let's not do that.
Oh, let's not do that. Okay, Rupa, you speak.
Okay, so profound would be that we need to start bringing lots more people to this Zoom call. That's the first step of action. And I will see if I can get some people on. I don't have a lot of friends personally, but I will do what I can. And, use Facebook, advertise, say, hey, we're having the Zoom call, please join. We welcome everybody. And see if we can start motivating, because we're a very small group of people. Like right here, we're only 4 people. We need, dozens, 50 is a good number, Narayana said. Get 50 people on here. That's a good start.
And we should start switching over to using computers for the meetings rather than cell phones, if possible.
Yeah, we could do that. Yes. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Because then
that,
you could see everybody's face. I've been on so many Zoom meetings with the University of California Medical Center in San Francisco. 50 people. They couldn't. So many people. They couldn't all be seen, even though each square is 1 inch square or 2 inches square. So we had to. You have to switch. You have to scramble back. You have to shuffle back and forth to see who's on the Zoom call.
Hmm.
That means there was 100 people. Okay, so go ahead. I'm not going to speak.
so I'm just gonna say good night. Thank you so much for the
Hare
conversation.
Krishna. Thank you.
Okay,
Haribo.
so having said that, can you begin
Hare Hare.
immediately? Can you begin immediately, Rupa Manjari, with
Yes.
Facebook?
Yes, I
Right.
will.
Good.
I will.
Good.
I'll make a
Right.
post.
Hare Krishna. Chai.
Hare Krishna.